This podcast is dedicated to the dynamic youth of today who are breaking boundaries, challenging norms, and redefining what it means to be a force for positive change in the world. In every episode, we will delve into the narratives, experiences, and wisdom of exceptional individuals who are both empowering and inspiring young people, and young individuals who are making significant strides across a range of fields, including technology, the arts, activism, and entrepreneurship. We believe that the future is in the hands of our generation, and together we'll explore ideas, innovations, and inspirations that are shaping a brighter tomorrow. So, whether you're a trailblazer yourself, change makers, or simply looking for a dose of motivation, you're in the right place. Find Your Voice is not just a podcast, it's a movement. Let's dream big, think bold, and act now. Get ready to be inspired because the future starts now. Welcome to Find Your Voice. Everyone has dreams. If you guys have dreams and want to be change makers, please join the FYV network. Scan the QR code presented on the screen to join the network. Welcome to this episode of the Find Your Voice podcast. Today's episode is called Fostering Dreams. This is John Levy from Southend YMCA. Welcome to the podcast, John.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you. Can you tell us a bit about your background and what led you to become an advocate for children?
Yeah, for the first sort of 20 years of my life, I spent nothing to do with this line of work at all. I worked at the Southend Airport, which is freight forwarding, and then that didn't go so well because we went into Europe. Strangely enough, we come out, but at the time we went into Europe, and it meant that there was no reason for me to be there to do the paperwork. So I decided to reinvent myself, and in the end, I went to various charities and worked for HARP, who deals in homelessness, and did some voluntary work there for about 6 months. And I saw that advertising jobs at the council dealing with homeless people, homeless families. So I worked there for a couple of years. And then I worked with child offenders for another year and a half. And I thought, well, the children work that I've done and the homeless work that I've done kind of looks at young people's homelessness. And I thought the YMCA would be an ideal place for me to apply for. I applied for the job, got the job, and I've been here for 20 years.
Wow. So what led you to work with young people then?
I suppose it was homelessness that originally drew me in, and then I thought to myself, well, the most important thing now is to try and help young people because they are the future. And obviously if we have young people that are having a difficult time, the sooner you can help people, the earlier you can help people, I think the better chances they've got of getting back onto the right path.
So that really motivates you, sort of future planning and assisting young people? Yeah.
After 20 years of it, I think, I'm getting close to getting it right. I don't always get it right. I get it wrong very often. But, that's definitely the motivation, because I also think that other areas of charity work are easy to sell, for want of a better word. And I think dealing with young people isn't always the easiest sell. They think, young people, they rob people and they take drugs and they're all bad. But I just think, well, if you think that way, surely you need some interventions to make sure that they're offered the right path. So
definitely,
it's definitely what I want to do.
Yeah, I can imagine that must be quite rewarding, sort of helping people, putting them on the right path.
Yeah. I think the ideal thing is that you give young people as many opportunities to change as possible. And, what doesn't work 1 week or 1 month or for 1 year may work later on down the line. So, I don't think anything we do has to have immediate effect. It would be fantastic if it did.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, most of our young people get it at some point. They're usually here for a couple of years, maybe 3 years. And it's not always immediate, the change, but we get there in the end.
Yeah. What would you say the term youth advocacy means to you?
To me, I suppose it's support. The terms we use in the YMCA is we have support workers and key workers. So advocacy is very, very similar, particularly when there's kind of older members of staff like myself. I'm sort of 60-ish, And I'm not totally in touch with the young people today. So youth advocacy is a fantastic thing, because obviously young people know more about young people. They know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I know me and you have had conversations in the past, and you'll say something, and I'm thinking, not sure what that means, because it's modern speak, it's modern sayings, it's what's happening, and I'm not really that happening. And again, we've had conversations that are 20, 30 years ago that you show a great deal of interest in, and you know exactly what it's about, whereas I'm a little out of touch with the youth of today, but I'm doing my best to arrange a platform so that staff, particularly young members of staff, can help young people.
Yeah, that makes sense. In what ways can education help young people become more independent?
Well, I think, again, referring back to the YMCA, we have key workers that advocate and support workers, and I guess it's the education of the independent living skills, particularly when young people can't live at home for whatever reason. They come to the YMCA, they're given their flat, and they have a tenancy, and it probably seems quite stark. Oh, okay, I've got a legal document, not really sure what that's all about, and I've got my own flat, not sure what that's all about. I've got a cook for myself, I'm not sure what that's all about.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here, to make sure whatever you aren't particularly good at, that we can encourage you to get good at it. And I think, again, whether you call it advocacy or whether you call it key work or whether you call it support work, we're about assisting young people to do it. We don't always do it for them. And that's the education, getting back to what you said. It's very important that we do educate the young people how to pay rent.
Yeah.
How to behave,
Council tax.
Council tax, yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah, it is. And some of the things we deal with are very unpopular as well, because who wants to pay council tax? Who wants to pay extortionate amounts of money for their electric?
Yeah.
We don't like paying it, and I wouldn't expect any young person to want to pay that. But that's the world we live in, and we're trying to help.
Yeah, I think you guys do a great job. I mean, I remember my first council tax slip that came through after I turned 18. I just had no idea what I was looking at.
Anger. It makes you very angry, doesn't it? It still does to me.
Thanks, you're 18, you've got to start paying now. Yeah. In your view, how does having a mentor help young people feel stronger and more confident?
I think it's that one-to-one feel.
Yeah.
And I've seen kind of mentoring and advocacy with young members of staff. And they obviously do things differently to an old member of staff like myself. I think there's value to what I do, but I just think young people will respond better to mentoring from their peers. So it's not just staff; it could be volunteers. I think volunteers are incredibly important.
Definitely.
And they will definitely be able to get on the level with a young person almost certainly much better than me. So I think it's one thing I'd love to really work on a lot more.
Yeah, I remember Bailey. She was quite popular when she was working here.
Yeah.
Because she was around about our age, wasn't she? So
she was,
people identified quite well with her.
Yeah. Well, she wanted to get in social work, and obviously this wasn't the first area she thought of, but when she realised that she had a head start in some respects because she was young, that was really good for her. That said, I think when you are young and you are mentoring or advocating another young person, you have to understand the boundaries. You can be friendly, but don't be a friend. And what I mean by that is you shouldn't really be lending money and exchanging phone calls and phone numbers unless it's in the work.
Well, it's a professional environment, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah. Because I think sometimes it can be misleading for the young person you're trying to work with and help. And that's not to say, because obviously yourself, you're a very intelligent young man, but there have been times when you probably needed to work at the YMCA, and a young person could well have helped you. And it does. And sometimes it doesn't even mean they don't. It's not. We're not teachers. We're not more educated than you.
No, of course.
We can bring certain flavours to it and certain experiences that you think, and we've got certain connections as well. So it's not about being better, being mightier, being anything like that. It's just, You know, we've got a wealth of talent, we've got a wealth of people that want to help, and hopefully we'll have a wealth of young people that are going to help change and motivate young people to move forward.
Yeah, well, I think because a lot of you are experienced in that field, especially with council tax, again, touching back on that, a lot of young people didn't even know about all the discounts you can get from being on universal credit or in education, stuff like that. And I remember when I looked at mine, I was just thinking, like, how am I going to even be able to afford to pay it? Yeah. And we got all the discounts applied, and then it was a lot cheaper and far more affordable. So without, like, youth mentors here, I definitely think it'd be quite hectic.
Without a doubt. Yeah. I mean, what I like about this conversation is that I can be kind of human about it. It's because these things annoy me as much as they annoy young people, you know.
Yeah.
I think I've touched on it before. Council tax is a pain, but it is a necessity. You know, we do need, you know, street lighting and roads and the pavements and stuff like that. That's what it all goes towards. And it goes towards a society that's nice and safe to live in. So, but it comes at a cost, and we've all got to pay it. And it all seems a little bit personal, but hey, we all chip in a little bit. We'll have a lot better place to live in.
Yeah. How do you believe we can identify and nurture the passions and talents of children and young people?
I suppose pretty much doing what we're doing at the moment, offering a friendly face that can help young people tackle all of those kind of new things. Like I said before, it's, you know, budgeting, keeping your room clean and tidy, and all that sort of. This is just to do with the YMCA and paying your taxes and paying your rent and all things like that. I mean, a lot of it's classed as rules, but I suppose it's just rules of life. There is an expectation that we've all got to contribute, and I am big on how we all fit in society.
Yeah. And
I think young people, without a doubt, are the most important people in society because they are our future. So, that's how I think it's important.
I definitely think it is important to sort of guide young people, because some people might not necessarily know what they want. Like I remember we had the gliding thing, and that was an amazing opportunity, but some people just didn't have the motivation to get up out of bed. And then once they started going, sort of sparked that passion a bit. Yeah. But they do sort of need that sort of like knock on the door or something, and that reminder to go do it.
Yeah. I'm always inspired by musicians and artists, because I think they're kind of a little bit free in their mind. And I know you're into pretty much all of that sort of thing. You're into everything. Yeah. And I find you quite inspiring in some respects, because you've just got an open mind. You very rarely say no to anything. Obviously, you've got to be a bit careful in this day and age. You can't just say yes to everything either. But, you know, go into things with an open mind, particularly when you've got trusted people around you that say you can try this and you can try this and you can try this. And eventually something will stick, and you'll find a direction, or you'll find a way to stop you getting all het up about some of the things that are kind of landed in your lap, you know. Yeah. We all like it. And I think young people just need that extra little bit of nurturing, and I think also an opportunity to fail. There's nothing wrong with failing, providing you try.
I think a lot of people are scared to fail too, and then
absolutely,
even if you do fail, it's just like motivation to keep going, either try something else or double down, actually.
But that's where advocates are really important, because if I was doing that for you, I'd say, okay, well, let's try table tennis, and you were absolutely crap and you couldn't hit the ball, but you managed to clip it on the odd occasion. Yeah. Well, you know, I'd be saying, try it again, and we just look at ways of, you know, how to return that ball, and eventually you will get there. You might not be the best player ever, but you'll get something out of it. And failing is important, particularly if you're trying. You know, if you fail and you can't be bothered, then, well, you know, you are kind of wasting everyone's time. Yeah. But generally speaking, it is that space to fail.
Getting the ball rolling, isn't it? Yeah. I think Tom and Davey do an amazing job with that. Like, they had a kid with ADHD, and he wanted to play the drums, but hand-eye coordination was terrible, and it took like 2 sessions. And once he started doing it, he's amazing now.
They are classic. They're the sort of guys that that do impress you. Because they do give you that opportunity, and they won't laugh you out the room. They'll have fun with you, but they won't laugh you out the room, and they will just encourage you. And I think that's proper advocacy in action.
Yeah, they're a very good example.
They're not that young, but
I think it's the positive environment. You know, they're very laid back. You don't have to. If you want to learn how to do something, they're more than happy to sort of just play about, see what someone likes. Yeah. And if it sticks, then it sticks. If not, they don't mind. There's no pressure.
Yeah, exactly. I think places like the YMCA, there is a bit of a stigma that goes with it. I think a lot of young people think we're just a load of old stuffy old teachers or something like that, or failed teachers even. But we are here to teach, but at the same time, I'd like to think it's a lot more relaxed and the opportunities are there. And I think if you prefer that environment to be educated in, it's a good place.
Well, I think teachers might be the wrong word. I think you're more like you provide guidance. You're not saying, oh, like you have to do this or anything like that. You're just going, well, like this is how it is. Here's a way around it. You know, you got to pay council tax, but we can get it a bit cheaper. You sort of guide people in the right direction. Yeah. Like, teaching someone might be forced. Guiding is like it's an optional thing.
Yeah, perfect. That's it.
What difficulties do you usually face when supporting young people?
I think I've probably touched upon that already.
Yeah.
I think some of our young people have made their mind up that you're not going to be able to help them. I think they get angry when they first open that. We use the council tax letter. God, yeah, you know, I know exactly how that feels. It really peeves me.
Yeah.
I get it. I think it's breaking down the barriers that have kind of already set in stone, whether they've had issues with their mum and dad, whether issues with a home. We've got to kind of get through that initial preconceived ideas thing, and then just say, look, you know, we will give you some freedom to think about things. We will give you assistance. We will give you guidance. We will give you support. Yeah. It isn't forced, but it sometimes can take time. I think time is an important one.
Mm. Yeah, I think a lot of young people don't. If you've come from like a damaged home environment, you don't really. It's very hard for you to trust someone. So when there's people here that genuinely are trying to help them, it's a bit weird. Like they're not used to it. But once you sort of realise that a lot of the staff here, they don't have to be here, and they do genuinely have like our interest at heart. It's very easy people to get along with, to be honest.
Yeah, and we're not perfect.
No.
And I think one of the things that might be a mistake on our part, and I never ever say this, is I know how you feel. You don't know how you feel. I don't know how Elijah feels. I don't know some of the bad things that he may have witnessed or, you know, whatever in his life. So I don't know. You know, I've had issues. I've had close people die. I get all that, but I don't know exactly how you have had a problem and how you feel right now. I've got an idea.
Yeah.
But we don't. I don't like to say I know how you feel, because you don't always.
No. Yeah.
I think going on that as well is that I'm lucky. You know, I had really good parents, and
Yeah.
I've just been blessed. You know, my father died when I was quite young, but you know, he was a good dad, and my mum's still going. She's 92.
Wow.
So I've kind of got two extremes. And, you know, Dad died at 48. My mum's 92. So I've been lucky, and I just try to assist young people, even though in some respects I've got no idea, because I've been blessed. But at the same time, we both learn together.
I think, yeah, I definitely think the staff here as well, they're sort of at the forefront. Like when someone receives something from some sort of official body, they assume staff have something to do with it. So like our benefits, we get like £20 less than if you're over the age of 25.
Yeah.
We might complain to staff about it, but it's not staff's fault, it's the council. But because this is sort of an official body that we're living in, and you guys would be you're considered staff, they might think that it's your fault. So I can imagine that must be quite difficult to deal with too.
Yeah, I think it's we're classed as authority, I guess.
That's
and
it. Yeah.
Sometimes young people are a little bit peed off with the authority instilled in them by their parents. Some are peed off the lack of authority and the lack of guidance. So, you know, again, everyone's an individual, everyone's different. Yeah, it's that, I suppose, really, from being an advocate, from being a support worker, key worker, those are the skills that you've got to. Patience has got to be the main one, I guess.
Yeah.
And time and everything else that I've said before. But the rewards are immense. And you did say it must be quite rewarding. Yes, it's not all about the money. There have been times when I've had young people come back that I never thought I'd see again, and they're saying, "I've got it. You know, I've got 3 kids. I've got my Volkswagen estate, and I'm working for O2, and I'm earning twice as much as you are, John. Fantastic! I love it. I wish I was earning more money, but you know. But joking aside, how fantastic is that when they come back and they've got their 2.2 children, they've got the Volvo estate, and they're happy as Larry, and they've even got their own home. Wow.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be everybody, but those sort of stories, you know, no, not stories, those sort of facts and realities are just wonderful. I mean, I always remember one guy who was here. I'm not going to say names, but he was here and he was quite troublesome. But he made his mind up he wanted to go in the army.
Yeah.
And I really helped him with that. And I've again, you know, I'm 60 odd, so I have this old preconceived idea that getting in the army, you're going to have to, in your interview, face a sergeant major. And I said to him, look, he said, can you help me practice for the interview? So I said, yeah, but do you want me to really let you have it? He said, oh, definitely let me have it, like a proper sergeant major would. So I did. During the interview, I just gave him the hardest time. But he knew I was acting, but I'm glad I did because I just really let him have it, you know. It was just a real roller coaster of half an hour. I just slaughtered him on everything he said. And that's how I thought a sergeant major would act. At the end, he shook my hand and said, thanks for that. You know, I think that's going to help me with my interview.
Yeah.
The next day, he went to the interview, came back and said, oh, agencies do it now. And it's all very nice people. And it's just young girls in suits that did the interview. So, you know, that was just an experience for us both. And it probably done him some good because obviously being in the army, you are going to get...
You need thick skin.
You're going to get, yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're going to get rough treatment. It just wasn't at the interview stage.
Gosh.
We all learn.
Yeah. What changes in rules or systems do you think would make things better for young people?
Wow, what a question. I don't know. I think at the moment we're in such a difficult world. I think the whole system is chaotic. I don't think anything specific to young people at the moment. It's such a very difficult question to answer, that one.
Universal credit. Well,
yeah. But there's always that one. Yeah, maybe the benefit system. But again, I'm a man of a certain age who's seen the benefit system change so many times, and there's good and bad in both. So I do agree what you're saying. Yeah, it would be good, but I've seen so many changes that
nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you had an opportunity to change just a single thing that would benefit young people, what would it be?
God, this is proper. I think it'd just be what I believe in is I believe in family values.
Yeah.
And I think if we could spend a lot more time and investment working on how families should operate together, it isn't gonna solve everybody's issues.
No.
But I think it's going to solve an awful lot. I think as a country we seem to have lost a lot of the family values. I mean, a lot of it is there's been this nurturing in life. You know, you get to a certain age, you go out, you rent your property, you buy your property, then you go off into the big wide world. There are certain cultures that I see, whether it be an Asian culture, that they keep families within houses. You know, there might be 3 or 4 families within the house. They're not in any rush to get the kids out. You know, you're of a certain age now, there's no benefits, off you go. I think if we could get family values back into society, I think that would be a great starting point.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe like some sort of support system to support those families, because parents split up, and that can make it quite difficult.
Yeah, I mean, there are old farty types, far older than me, believe it or not, that have always said, kind of, oh, they make it too easy to split up these days, and that's a bit of a strange situation. It's a strange statement, because people will obviously split up, and you shouldn't be forced together if it isn't going to work.
No, definitely.
But that kind of whole education about, when you marry, it should be a commitment for life. We all know that. And we all know it's not always going to work. But when you look statistically at how many relationships do break down and how it does affect families, and particularly affects young people, if we could do something there, adopt a new system, adopt another way of thinking, and get back those true family values, great starting point to move forward, I think.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I think that's a good one. What dreams and goals do you have for young people you work with?
I think that's part of the dreams and goals as well.
Yeah.
If we could do that, then in many ways, if that worked, the YMCA hostel would almost become redundant, and I put myself out of a job. But what a way to do it, to actually have every young person happy, every young person that was wanted in a marriage or a relationship still remains wanted. There's no major problems between them. Of course, listen to me, I sound like some idealistic twit, but wouldn't it be good that, there will be far more positive relationships going with parents than we currently have? Because it just seems to be a society that is just it's very singular.
Yeah.
I think, with social media as well, fantastic things go on, but it's all about me.
There's not much team playing anymore,
No,
is there? No,
there's not. So, all of that sort of stuff, again, it sounds like an old boy, it's always better in my day, and that's kind of what I'm getting at to a certain extent. But I do understand the great things about modern society, but I also understand that some of it is driving us all away from each other.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, with social media, you can just message anyone in the world, but everyone's on their phone. So whenever you're on public transport, no one's talking to each other. They're all just texting.
Yeah. Even in a restaurant, I'll be out there and 4 people I'm with are all on the phone. I know I'm not the best of company, but crikey.
It's so rude as well, isn't it? Sort
It
of
is when I'm
staring at someone
Yeah, definitely.
So what do you think the future holds then?
I think at the moment it's quite a difficult time for everybody, and I don't think there's ever been a more difficult time for young people.
Yeah.
The future has to be bright, it has to be good, and it's down to people like me and people sort of a little bit younger than me to make sure that we give the best opportunities for young people. We've got to keep going, we've got to get through this rough period, and it's going to get better. Being of a certain age, I have seen cycles in life, whether it be inflation, deflation, whether it be, kind of different cultures coming and going. I have seen quite a lot of changes thinking about it, and I don't really think about it that much, but I have. And I'd just like to think we're in a bit of a slump at the moment. Keep positive, keep going, and just make sure young people get the best opportunities to come out of it.
I think it's very easy as well when you're in a difficult situation to just feel like you're at the bottom and not have any future, or you can't see any bright side to it. But I think it's very important for a lot of young people to remember it's sort of like a bit of a roller coaster. Like nothing's forever. When you're at your lowest low, there's one way of looking at it. It's like, well, you're only going to go up from there.
Yeah.
Just sort of, I think reminding young people that as well is quite important, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's not just young people that are feeling it, although they're probably got the brunt of it, and I definitely think they're getting it worse than the older people. But we are all in it together, and I have seen better times, and I just think I want younger people to have what I've had. In fact, I want them to have it right now and a lot more of it. But the only way to do it is to work at it together.
Yeah, definitely. Is there a final message or a piece of advice that you'd like to leave our listeners with, especially those who are passionate about advocating for young people?
Well, yeah, I think we touched on it before. I'm of a certain age, and staff that I work with are of a certain age, and they're very, very good. But to be in touch with young people, to really find out what's going on, it really helps to be young. So young advocates, if you're thinking about doing anything for other young people, do it. It is rewarding. The time's right. Now is the time. I would definitely recommend it. I mean, I suppose, again, looking back when I first said about what I did, and I worked at Southend Airport for 20 years, but previous to that, I was quite a good kid, really, because I used to run errands for the old girls in the street. You know, they couldn't get their pension, so I used to run round, get their pensions and deliver it to them in total, no tips or anything like that. And it was just about helping people. And it kind of reminds me of young people now that want to help. I used to help elderly people because I thought they were very vulnerable, and they're just lovely, aren't they, elderly people?
Definitely, they need to be looked after.
Yeah, and so are young people. You know, ones that really need it and down on their luck. You know, because they can springboard back, and they've got a great future ahead of them, providing you put in the foundations for them, and that is advocating and helping, assisting, whichever way you want to call it, really.
Yeah. Right, wicked. Well, thank you very much, John. Appreciate you coming onto the podcast.
Thanks very much for inviting me, and great questions.
Cheers.
Thank you.